a few ways you can sit here. You can be sitting on your bench or whatever. If you're sitting down on the floor, you can sit cross-legged, or you can sit as I am sitting. It's just really whatever you're going to be most comfortable with. What I'm most concerned about is the levelness of the hips. So really sitting in such a way that you can feel the two sit bones on that surface that you're using, whether it's your cushion, block, or you're seated on a chair for this part of the practice. So we will take a brief we will do a brief meditation. And the way I want you to think about this meditation is flexing our ability to concentrate and focus. This is not a meditation so that you can release your Kundalini and experience some kind of like nirvana. That's not what this meditation is for. So any pre-existing ideas or expectations you have around that word meditation, just leave it at the door. Because what this meditation is for is paying attention to our bodies, right? Which is a very important part of being an athlete, is to be present with our bodies, feeling what's happening so we can make adjustments and we can accommodate. So we're going to close the eyes to start. And if there's anything just immediately coming up, maybe it's a feeling, a physical sensation in the body, or maybe it's a more subtle sensation like a little bit of anxiousness or impatience, right? Things a little more on the subtle plane. Just noticing that, right? Not trying to get rid of it or push it away, just noticing. All right, this is the part of the practice today. Whatever's just trying to grab your attention right here, just be with it for just a few breaths. All right, offering it a little kindness. Okay, a little anxiety might be a part of the practice today, or my knee feeling weird is a part of my practice today. And we're going to start to focus in the attention of the mind on the breath. The breath offers a constant anchor into the present moment. That's why we use it as a tool when practicing our focus and concentration. As the mind wanders, which it will, gently return the focus to the breath. As the mind has wandered, return attention to breath. Good. Open up your eyes. Good. Wonderful. So we will be starting each of our Poga practices with 3 to 5 minutes of our meditation. This is really important. Body awareness and the connection to our body really comes from the ability to pay attention. So for all of you out there who are like, oh my God, my mind was racing that entire time, that's fine. What I want you to think about is flexing the concentration muscle the same way you would do like bicep curls, right? Every time the mind wanders and you bring it back, that's a rep. That's one rep that you just did to strengthen your ability to focus on one thing, right? That's all it is, right? So I really want you to bring in this really simple way of thinking about this kind of meditation as a direct tool and skill that you're going to be able to use when we're in the boat as well. Nice. So let's get moving. So this is all going to be seated. Again, just a note that you can certainly be in a chair for this first part of the practice. So we're going to begin by moving the spine in all of its ranges of motion. And we're going to start with length. So interlacing your fingers, you're going to turn your hands inside out and reach up over your head. And what we're doing here is we're lifting the rib cage away from the pelvis, right? So we're trying to create more space, right, than we would normally have with gravity compressing us, right, which is happening all the time. Right, the ribs are stacked over the pelvis, right? So as gravity is just kind of compressing that rib cage down, and we are going to lift it up. So the shoulders are elevated, biceps are right about next to your ears, a little tuck of the chin. So if you lifted your arms out and then your head went forward, imagine that you're up against a wall and the back of your head is against that wall. Good. Keep reaching, right? So already starting to build a little bit of heat through the upper body. Yes, yes, yes. And then lowering down slowly. So arms coming down, nice and smooth, nice and slow. Hands will come to the knees. And this can be whether you're cross-legged or seated like I am in hero pose. This is called, it's just kneeling, right? Another word for it. And we're going to do some seated cat and cow. So for this one, I'm just going to turn so you can see me from the side. This is flexion and extension of the spine. On the inhalation, we're going to extend the spine. So we're creating this arching through the back, gaze comes up. And as you exhale, tuck the pelvis under, and your head and neck are last to move, and you're rounding the back. This is flexion. Good. Inhale, extension. Gaze high. Exhale, tuck the pelvis under and flex. Good. And then just follow the rhythm of your own breath, right? Inhale to extend. Good. Open through the chest. And exhale to round. A few more repetitions here, maybe getting a little deeper into it every time, beginning to lengthen your inhales and complete exhalations. Really get all the air out. Good. It can help to make noises sometimes, right? So you're all on mute, so don't be, shy about it. We're going to go through one more full inhale and full exhale in our cat and cow. And then we'll come back to our neutral spine. Good. Nice. And then stacking shoulders once again, directly over the hips. And I'll come back to you. Good. So we've gotten extension, flexion, and length. So next we're going to go into lateral bending. On the inhalation, the right arm lifts. And as you exhale, allow yourself to laterally bend, okay? So one thing here is don't let the hip lift, right? So the hip needs to stay down on the whatever surface that you're using. So we're anchoring through the hip. You can imagine then that the length is happening in an isolated way just through the upper body. If you're collapsing forward this way, think about opening up, maybe look past the elbow up towards the sky. And with that hand that's on the floor, be light with that hand, right? Don't hang on it. Yeah, and that's going to help to start to waken up the core as well. As we are isolated in this sort of lateral bend, the obliques start to turn on. Nice. Good. Last inhale here, wherever you are. And as your exhale comes, you can come out of your lateral bend and back to neutral. Good. Inhale, second side, lifting. And exhale to laterally bend and just finding your range here, being open to the fact that it's going to be different side to side, right? Yeah, we have to really let go of those expectations, that we're going to be symmetrical, right? That's just not the way the body works. And especially with dragon boating, right? It's a single-sided sport for the majority of us. And we're going to have that side that we're primarily on. Good. Staying heavy through that hip. Keep anchoring down. Light on the hand. Finding space, right? Using the breath to really create this space, right? As you inhale, your whole trunk has to expand, right? Think about those little muscles between the rib cage. Good. Final inhalation wherever you are. And as you exhale, slowly lower the arm down. Beautiful. All right, there's only one more to do, and that is the twist. So we're going to bring the hand around that just came down. So that'll probably be your left hand, and bring it around to the outside of the right thigh, creating a little bit of leverage, right? So I'm going to gently pull, right? Not 100%. And then this hand is going to come behind me, just gently. My fingertips are kind of just grazing the floor here. So again, I don't want to be leaning back. I want to keep the integrity of my spine perpendicular to the floor. Good. Think about the inhalations lengthening from tail to the top of your head. So when you inhale, imagine that you're getting taller and more buoyant. And as you exhale completely, and really think about this like you're kind of wringing out a towel in this posture. Nice. Moving through center, nice and easy, and just right into second side. Good. I always like to, I liken the transitions between yoga to like rearranging a sleeping baby or a sleeping like puppy or something, right? We don't want to be herky jerky. So really bringing this kind of smoothness and tenderness to every transition that we do. Nice. Thinking about inhales, lengthening you up, creating space, and then the exhale, right? We contract a little and move more deeply into whatever posture we're in. Keep the breath flowing all the time. Nice. And releasing nice and slow, coming through center. Really nice, everybody. So now we're going to be staying in our seated position for just a moment as we get into some tricep stretches. So I actually don't have a, what's it called? A yoga strap. I'm going to use this bag, which will be fine. So our tricep is coming up next. And again, if you've been sitting like this and you want to go cross-legged or vice versa, just change your position. It's okay. You don't have to stay in the exact same spot. So we're going to bring the right arm up, and we're going to have whatever we've got in our hand, right? So yay, like a cheerleader. And then we're going to bend the elbow as much as we can. And then this hand is going to go behind. I can kind of show you from this way. And we're going to grab onto whatever you've got. And we're going to slowly start to inch our way, right? Closing the gap as much as possible between our hands, okay? Yeah, good. And now really important here, again, to keep that length in the spine, right? So if you start to hunch forward or your head is falling forward, remember, your neck is a part of the spine. Keep it neutral and long. Really nice. And now we're going to hold and breathe here, okay? So one important thing to remember is to stay around 60-70% intensity. So when we are in a position where we're starting to inch towards 80-90% of our comfort level, the muscles, it can actually have an opposite effect where your muscles will start to be sort of resist the stretch and put up defenses around that stretch sensation because they don't feel safe, right? It's like a warning, like we are entering into dangerous territory. So even though it might feel more productive, like, oh, I really want this intense stretch, it might actually not be as effective long term, right? So we catch more flies with honey. Right, so let's be kind to ourselves here. Can we keep that soft breath flowing? Good, staying with the body, right? Not pushing away whatever's coming up, trying to be with it. It's around 90 seconds of static stretch that change really starts to happen, right? Sounds like a long time. So we do want to work our way up to that level, that time frame, which is hard because it's kind of time consuming, right? Good, almost there. Just a few more breaths. Nice. If you feel that you're hyperextending your low back, if low back is starting to get tense, try to drop the tail down. Good. The first thing we're going to do to get out of this is release the bottom hand first. So release your grip very slowly, straighten the arm and bring it around. Okay, so that's number one. And then the elbow drops down, keeping everything close to your midline. Really nice. So a little counter stretch before we continue. Whatever arm was on the bottom is going to come across the body, right? So it's interesting because we can feel like the stretch is in the top arm primarily or the bottom arm. For me, I feel it primarily actually in my bottom arm, right? You might feel it more in the top, but yeah, it just depends on your individual flexibility, mobility. Nice. So if you're here, if you've noticed that your shoulders are lopsided, draw that shoulder down, keeping that square. Good. And release. Okay, cool. One final side. I promise we're going to get out of this seated position eventually. This is our last stretch in our seated position. So switching sides. First, the elbow bends, reach behind, close the gap a little bit, right? Whatever you can do here. I assume that we're not all doing this stretch on a regular basis. So adjust your expectations, right? Okay, this might be new, right? It's fine. Very good. Yeah. And then noticing the spine. So I'll kind of show you what I mean here with the spine position. It can be, I don't have a lot of extension in my back, but it can be tempting to start to arch the back, right? Like your fist is almost pushing you forward. So think about keeping shoulders stacked, ribs tucked down, right? So not flaring the ribs out in front of you. And then just keep the breath flowing, right? That's your constant companion. Notice where you can soften, right? So maybe it's the muscles of your face, your toes, your feet. Good. Good. Unclench your jaw. Almost there. Just a few more breaths. Keeping the gaze out in front of you. Don't drop your head down. Okay, so we're ready to come out. We're going to release the bottom hand first, straighten the elbow, bringing it onto the top of the thigh or the knee, wherever, and then bringing this arm down. And then once again, we come into our counter stretch, right? So nice. Good, good, good. Sweet. All right, little shake. Let's come into tabletop position here. All right, so we're just going to keep our block or whatever we're using close by in case we need it. Knees directly underneath the hips and wrists directly underneath the shoulders. So I'm going to give you a few options here. One is to flip the right palm 180 degrees. Like so, right? So you might make it to whatever other degree, and that's okay. And you also don't have to do this. If this is just like, nope, that's not going to work for my body, you don't have to do it. The opposite leg is going to go out. So for me, that's my left leg. I'm going to tuck the toes under, and I'm going to gently press back my body weight. So I'm getting a stretch through the calf, through the Achilles, just generally through the back of the lower leg here. Good. And I'm going to get that stretch through the front of my wrist, forearm, right through the elbow, inner elbow. Lovely. Bring it all back in. A little shake, right? Switching sides. And maybe you're dealing with an injury. You can do the flip on one side, not the other. That's totally fine. So just always accommodating your body, right? Do not feel that you need to do exactly what I do. There's a lot of things that I have to modify when I do my practice with other teachers. Good, just breathing here, settling. Good, and bringing it all back in, and a little shake. We're going to take the right foot and we're going to replace our right hand with our foot. So wherever our hand is, we're going to take the foot and we're going to put it right there. And I'll face you so that we're kind of together. And we're going to tuck the back toes under if you have that ability. Some people, that's not going to work for them, but if you can tuck the back toes under, do so. Squeeze your butt. And we're going to do some goddess arms, some fun goddess arm dance moves. So we're going to have the hands start this way, nice big fingers, jazz hands, right? And let's drop just one elbow into internal rotation. So what this is external rotation over here, internal rotation in the shoulder over here, and then you're going to switch and switch and switch and continue switching, right? So we're going, yeah, nice, perfect. Yes, yeah, so shoulder joint, such an important one, obviously with paddling, but in life in general. Keep the elbows high. If you start to drop down to here, right, look at those elbows up to shoulder height for 3 and 2 and 1. Perfect. We're going to take this hand and place it down, untuck the back toes. Perfect. And then we're going to reach up into a twist. Yeah. Good. Now reach energetically towards the sky. I want you to think like you're really reaching for something. So your fingers are active. Yes. Nice. And imagining in your mind that there's a straight line from the top fingertips all the way down to the bottom wrist. Yeah. So even if that's not actually happening, we have that as our intention for this posture. Yeah, perfect. Now we're going to counter twist. So we're going to take that hand down. The hand is going to be placed right to the inside of the arch of the foot. And you can move yourself a little wider here if you want, right? Open things up. It's going to make you feel more stable. And like I'm pulling back an arrow, I'm going to lift now my opposite arm up, right? So this is a little bit more challenging on this side. Yes, yeah. So twisting, the ability to rotate is so important in the dragon boat stroke technique. And these positions in yoga can really help to open that up. I want you to really breathe deeply here. Reaching and breathing. So we have this twist, but we also have this expansiveness happening through the arms. So nice. Just a few more breaths. Good. And lowering down smoothly. And let's bring that leg back. We're back in our tabletop and we're going to do the opposite side now. So whatever side adjusted, bring the opposite foot forward. We're going to start with the tucked toes, squeeze the bum. We're going to go through our fun dance move. Once you get up here, we're going to go internal, external. As you're ready, join in. So nice. Yeah. No herky jerkiness, right? Smooth. Yeah. Good. Love this one. Awesome. 3, 2, and 1. Awesome. So this hand comes down. We're reaching with the same arm as the leg that is forward, right? So plant the hand in line with the foot here and reach up. Nice. Yeah, beautiful. And we're imagining that straight line, right? From top arm through the heart center down to the bottom arm. Yes. Still creating that length in the spine on the inhalations. And as we exhale, getting a little more deep into the position. Good, wherever you are, taking one final inhalation, and the exhale will bring that arm down. And now the hand is gonna snuggle in right with the inner arch of that foot. You can come a little bit wide, again, creating a little more stable foundation, and then pulling back your arrow, coming into the twist the opposite way. Now you might notice this is the more difficult way to go, okay? That's normal. So if you're finding that this is harder, that's okay. And if lifting the arm just feels really tough and like not productive today, just place it on the hip or the low back and just keep the rotation, right? You don't have to have the arm up. You can just have it down and maintain the rotation. And then breathe. Yeah, so the tolerance for staying in a posture is really important, and it'll build over time. Good, wherever you are, that last inhale, and the exhale brings you slowly down. Yeah, so nice. Coming back to that tabletop position. And we're gonna bring ourselves into our first downward facing dog. But before we do that, we're gonna find our length by coming first into extended, and Matt is so dirty, extended child's pose. So widen out your knees and the toes are together, and then we'll come into our extended child's. So this just means that we're resting the head towards the floor, perhaps touching the mat, and we're going to stretch our fingertips out as long as they can go, okay? And this is the footprint for our downward facing dog, and I'll show you what I mean. So from here, lift the hips without moving your hands. So you're going to lift the hips, bring your knees back under the hips, and then tuck the toes, and then lift the hips up. So what this does is it creates this kind of blueprint of how far away our hands and our feet are supposed to be. And this is a pretty good gauge. Now, everyone in your down dog, I want you to keep your knees bent, please. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, good adjustment. Bend your knees, keep your heels off the floor, and practice instead pressing your chest towards your thighs more, right? Yeah. So when we immediately try to just straighten out the knees, that actually brings most of us out of the nice long spine position, okay? So always prioritizing the spine here. Good. Inhale to drop the knees down, coming back into tabletop. And as you exhale, come into child's pose. Good. On your next inhalation, rising back to table, tuck toes, exhale into your downward facing dog once again. Bend in the knees, heels off the floor. Instead, think about extending the spine. Remember what that felt like when we were doing our cow pose, right? Cat and cow. So think about that here. Yes, inhale to drop the knees to the floor, table. Exhale to child's pose. We're going to do all that one more time. Hang out in your child's pose for a few breaths. Good. Your next inhale brings you to table. Tuck toes, downward facing dog. Keeping the bend in the knees, heels off the floor, length through the spine. Yeah. So nice, everybody. Good. Gazing between the shin bones, feet are about hip distance apart. Press your chest towards the top of your thighs. Lovely. Now walk your feet all the way to your hands. They're going to end up at the top of the mat, full forward fold. Clasping onto opposite elbows. I want you to bend your knees until your tummy is making contact with your thighs. Okay, that's how much bend in the knees that I would like. Okay, release your head completely. Elbows sinking towards the floor, top of the head, forehead coming towards the shin bones. So nice, so nice. Nice. Drop the hands to the floor, plant them, or get them as close as you can, bending your knees as much as possible to do this, okay? The left leg is going to step back. Big step back. So we're in a long lunge position. Really nice. Now the option here is to always just drop your back knee, right? You don't have to stay up here, okay? Not a problem. And then we're going to well, let's everybody drop the back knee because I'd like to bring you into lizard for a second. So drop the back knee, top of the foot comes down. We're going to put our weight in that left hand. The right hand is going to press into the inside of the right knee. Okay, so I'm pressing the knee away from me and I'm going to look over my shoulder. Okay, now the weight has rocked a little bit into the outside of that foot, which is fine. Yes, 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 yeah. So this is called lizard. Kind of makes sense too. Good. So press the floor away through the left hand. So we're really finding space in the shoulder joint. Don't hang with the shoulder up near the ear, right? Push the floor away. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Nice. Place the right hand down. Tuck the back toes. We're going to frame our foot once again with our hands. Tuck the back toes and step forward into that forward fold position. Nice. And then next side, right leg goes back. Drop the back knee down. So we're in this long lunge. We're going to plant the right hand. Left hand comes to the inside of the left knee. Press away. Lovely. Right, maintaining that relationship with the breath. Inhaling to lengthen. Exhaling to deepen. Good. You can always come back through center and return, right? You'll notice that we're holding things here. We're not just going in and out of the poses. We're holding, exploring, getting familiar. Nice. Back through center, framing the foot here. Tuck the toes, return to your downward facing dog. So step the leg back, right? Bend in the knee. Lovely. Good, good, good. Yeah, opening that gate between the shoulders, right? The chest is open towards the thighs. Good. Walk your feet all the way to your hands, coming to the top of the mat once again. Fully forward fold. Yeah, just let it go. And let's play around here. So we're going to come up into a half lift, which is going to look really familiar for anyone doing off-season training once we get there. So as you inhale, you're going to drag your hands up your shin bones until you, basically your spine is about parallel to the floor. Okay, so we're in this position. We've got bent knees. My hips are behind me. My shin bones are perpendicular to the floor. Now you can place your hands on your thighs here for a little bit of support. But what does this kind of look like? This could be where you start your deadlift, right? Very similar position, okay? It's a hip hinge. We are folded here at the hip joint, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to do some arm raises. So I want you to really squeeze your butt here, squeeze your legs for support so that we don't start to gather tension in your back, right? If you feel that way, a little tuck of the tail might help. Arms are down by your sides, and we're going to begin raising one arm up as another arm goes back. So we're lift, and then other side, and then we lift, okay? And you're just going to keep switching sides. And the arm that's raising out in front of you, thumb is up. Think about like that thumb is going to touch the ceiling. Keep squeezing the legs, push your feet into the floor. Lots of tension through the legs and a brace through the core. Keep breathing up. So close and up. One more on each. Good. Last one. Yeah, beautiful. Now both arms are going to go out in front of you, thumbs reaching towards the sky. And now we're going to stand by just unhinging the hips and squeezing your butt. Push your foot into the floor, feet into the floor. Slow rise, slow rise, slow rise. And then arms come down by your sides. Tadasana, right? So this is mountain pose is what we call this. You're at the top of your mat. I know it took a lot to get up here. That was not easy. Good. So Tadasana might seem like a really sort of like, okay, we're just standing here, right? But here's what I want you to think about, the stacking of the body. Right? So if feet are hip distance apart, that's different for everyone based on where your hips are, right? So try to find that position. Soft knees, okay? Hips, knees, ankles in alignment, slight pelvic tilt so that we're not flaring at the ribs, right? The ribs aren't out here, they're tucked, shoulders stacked, and the head is stacked, right? We find this optimal alignment of the body every time we come to stand, okay? This is where we're working from. Good. On an inhalation, your arms are going to lift up over your head. And as you exhale, sit the hips down and back. So this is called chair pose. Now it's different than where we just were because our knees are coming forward, right? So instead of being here, we're going to allow the knees to come forward and we're able to stay more posturally upright, okay? This is an important position to be able to be in. The knees coming a little over the toes is okay. Nice. Let's bring the hands back down. And we're going to do some paddle simulation here. So we're all going to start as if the water was on the right side of our body. So our water is here. And we're going to reach out first just with that bottom arm. Now the hips are going to stay square. Okay. So you'll notice I don't have a lot of bend in my knees. I'm not like down here, right? Just come into a position where you feel that you can maintain. We're going to reach out. Okay, and then we're connect over, lateral bend. Do you notice that feeling? We've been here many times. Now look down at the knees and let's keep everything square to start. And then let's move that pelvis, right? So just as we would in the boat, the right hip is going to move forward, left hip moves back, and then we're going to come back to square. And we're going to stand up, arms by the side, back to Tadasana, okay? So we're going to turn this into some reps. We're going to reach out. We're going to connect. We're going to slide forward, back to center, and stand. That's it. Let's do a few more. We're going to bend the knees. We're going to reach down the gunnel, move that pelvis, right? Left hip back, right hip forward. Connect, hold for a moment, center, and stand. 3 more times. We reach out the gunnel, move the pelvis, connect, hold, square off the hips, and stand. 2 more times. You can take this, you don't have to follow me exactly, right? So just coming down, slide, find the connection of the top arm, back to center, and stand. 1 more time, wherever you are. We slide, connect, little hold, right? Whatever kind of hold you want to do. You don't have to stay long. Center, and stand, and breathe. Really nice, everybody. Let's take a little shake out, just let it go. Yeah, so this is a great drill for a lot of reasons, right? So we've got all this, right? We've done all this rotation and bending, and now we're putting it into this practice. And the more we do this on the off season, the better it's going to be when we're in the boat. So what I'm trying to hit home here is this relationship, right, between the reach out, right? So we've got this rotation and then the lateral bending happening, right? And we're not trying to round, right? We're keeping extension as well. We've got all 3 spinal movements happening. So let's do the same thing on the other side, okay? So again, not a huge bend needed in the knees here. Don't get the legs too tired out. All right, so water's on the left side. We find the gunnel here. We're going to slide the arm down the gunnel, connect. The hips are rotating. Hold for a moment. Good. I know Brett makes us all do this in the boat, right? Square and stand. I want you to really think about square versus the rotation of the pelvis, okay? Let's do 4 more. Down, reach, hold that reach, however long you want that challenge. Breathing, extend the spine, rotate, lateral bend, square, and up. Good. Keep them coming. Always coming back to square hips before you stand, if you wouldn't mind. And we're doing that, and we'll talk about why in a second, but square rotate, square, and stand. I kind of lost count. I'm just going to do one more. If you guys, if you know you already did all yours, or you just want to do another one. Yeah. Good, square and stand. Whoo, nice. Awesome. We're going to take a small break here before we move on and do a few more small stretches before we stop. Yeah, so the reason why that's an important one, especially coming back to square, is that when we do drills in the boat, your coaches probably ask you to come back to set, right? And what set means is that we are basically square, right? So we're maybe a little tilted forward, but we are basically square. Our hips are not rotated anymore, right? We come back through, and that's before we then come into the next one. So it's so important to be able to compartmentalize those different pieces of the stroke, because when you're able to do that, then you can really work on each one, which is a mind-bendy thing to do. And I'm not very good at it yet. When it's like, just focus on this, like just the catch. I'm like, that's like a quarter of a second, right? How do you do it? So this kind of practice, right, we're really focusing, right? We're connected. It's really going to come through when your coaches are asking you to do things like this once you're in the water and there's all these distractions and other things happening. Really, really nice. There's only one other position that I want to take on today, and this is one that we'll do a lot, and it's called Trikonasana, which is triangle pose. And we're going to workshop it a little, right? So this isn't a vinyasa class where we're just like, wee, going around. Let's workshop this a little bit. So everyone is going to need a block or something to put their hand on. If you don't, it's not the end of the world, but it will make life a little bit easier. So let's come to the top of the mat together. And whatever side you start on, just make sure that you're going to face me, like not away from me. It'll just make it a lot easier to see. And we're going to bring your foot back. I'm going to start with my right foot coming back, and that just means I'm going to be open to you, and I want you to be open to me. So whatever leg is closest, just like do that. That leg is going to go back so we can stay facing one another. And we're going to come first into a warrior 2 position. So that means that my back foot, you'll notice I'm going to pivot my back foot. My toes are pointed towards you now. And that allows my hip to open on this side. And then these toes are pointed straight ahead. So it's a 90-degree relationship between the feet. Yeah. So this is warrior 2. Yeah, you might, if you don't do yoga a lot, it's still a pretty, recognizable pose. And I want you to straighten out through the front knee. Yep. And then before we rotate into the full triangle position, we're going to reach our fingertips out over the horizon. This hip is going to move back. These fingers are going to move forward. So you can kind of see what I'm doing here. I'm hinging at this hip, and I want you to reach as far as you can reach. So this is about it for me. And then we rotate, okay? And the rotation looks like this, okay? So I'm going to grab my block because, oh my gosh, it's just so much more comfortable to bring that floor up to you. If you don't have anything, then you can grab your leg and just put the weight into your leg a little bit. So Trikonasana is so great for paddlers because we've got a lot happening here. We are rotating, right? We are also, there's some lateral bending happening and rotation happening all at once, okay? So we want to think straight line from the tail through the spine, through the head. Yeah, so if your head is hanging, bring it back, and we're opening our chest. I really want you to feel that sensation of opening the chest. Lovely. Let's bring the hand to the hip, little bend in the front knee, push off the front and back leg to rise up. Trikonasana, really nice. So instead of doing anything crazy, what we're going to do, we're just simply going to go like 1, 2. That's it. Now we're faced the other way. So easy. Let's first come into that warrior 2 position so that we start with the bent knee. These toes are facing you. Yeah, so nice. Yeah, perfection. We're going to straighten through the front knee. And then we're going to begin that reach, right? My hip is moving this way. My hands are moving this way. Reaching, 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 reaching. I can't reach anymore. And now I'm going to rotate. Yes, yeah. So nice, guys. Yeah, Trikonasana is a pretty challenging pose, I would say, for the majority of people, unless you've been doing yoga a very long time. Squeezing through the legs. Think about lengthening on every inhale. Can we maintain that relationship with breath and body even when we're being challenged? Yeah, nice, so close. Good, hand comes to the hip, little bend in the front knee, pushing through both legs to stand. Good, coming through center and back to the top of your mat. Little shake, let it all go. And then we'll come down for some stretches that don't require a lot of work. Inhale, arms lift over the head. Exhale, forward fold, bend your knees, hinge at the hips. Good work. We're gonna step back into a plank and then drop the knees down into a table. You can simply crisscross your ankles here to make your way back onto your back. Good. So we've all done figure 4 before. This is a great hip stretch for the outside of the hip. So whatever side you want to start on, ankle to knee, you can either just press that knee away. And if that's not enough of a stretch sensation for you today, clasping on behind the hamstring and hugging the knees and the legs towards you. And then breathing. And it's funny because we say in yoga a lot, don't forget to breathe. And it's not so much that you're going to forget to breathe, obviously, because you won't, your body is going to breathe. It's more, don't forget the breath, right? It's more, keep your mind focused on your breath. Because that helps us stay present in our body. Nice, everybody, switching sides. All right, hugging the knees into the chest. And we'll let the knees come to one side. Whatever side you want to start on, doesn't matter. One thing I will encourage is that we stack the top hip over the bottom hip. Sometimes it helps to just pick your hips up and move them back to the center of the mat. And then let the knees come forward. So we've got hips stacked over hips and also the straight line from my shoulder kind of to my hip before coming into the twist. So even, really passive poses like these are a really great way to increase mobility. This is promoting this sort of the stretch to the low back through the hip. Yeah. And just remembering, if you're doing these stretches on your own, most of the change happens after the 90 seconds, right? So having that timer out, making your stretching sessions a little more structured, and seeing what it's like to be in some of these positions for longer than 15, 20 seconds, which is what we normally do, in the gym and when we're warming up. Good, nice and easy, switching sides. Nice, so many variations to the supine twist as well. So if you have a particular kind of style of this stretch that you like, please feel free to do so. You don't have to have stacked knees. One leg could be straight. You could cross a leg. Good, coming back through center, one final hug in of the knees, and then rocking your way up to a seated position. Yeah, finding that lengthen the spine one final time. So we're just bringing everything back to neutral. You can close your eyes here from your seated position. You can bring your block back under your butt. We're only going to be here for about 30 seconds or so. Shoulders are relaxed, jaw unhinged. Just experiencing the stillness. Yeah, fabulous. Open the eyes, and we are done for this practice. Thanks everybody for being here. This is a similar, so we're going to do similar every time. We will have more in the next one. I didn't really get to everything, but the first time I do this, I feel like I talk a lot because I don't really know where everyone's at with, have they done yoga before? Is it this familiar, not familiar? So I will do less talking as the weeks go on, and we will fit in more. There's about like 3 or 4 other positions I'd like to get us into. Yeah, but I hope that was kind of cool and helpful. And thank you. And you guys can unmute, and I'm just going to stop recording.